So here I have a bit of cedar, some pine, and some cinnamon. And today I will be making a winter herb bundle. This is something I make every year. It's something I even used to sell when I had an herbal business, and every winter market I'd bring a ton of these along and they always did really well. So I thought I would share this simple little practice with you all. Like I said, this is a yearly tradition for me. It is a really basic craft and one that you can really make into anything that you'd like. You can put any meaning that you desire, and it's a nice little refresher at this time of year. And today's video is going to be really just a vlog of making it because it doesn't really need a recap in its own, so it'll be a quick, simple, just how to and kind of chat about it. So without further ado, let's get into crafting and I will explain the whole process and the meaning behind it as we go. And like I said before, I'll be using cedar, pine, and cinnamon. Cedar is a wonderful purifying and protecting herb, along with some added benefits of healing. Pine is great in spells for protection, healing, and purification, and cinnamon is one of my go-tos for protection and spirituality. Now, before I get any further, I would like to add that typically I do this with fresh ingredients instead of dried, but this is what I have on hand right now, and but this isn't to say that it can't be done dried. Obviously I'm doing this now and it works just as well. It's just a little bit easier to bind them all together when they are not dried. So just something to keep in mind. Also, you're welcome to choose any ingredients that you'd like to. I chose these specific to what I would like to be using for this year. Particularly, if you haven't noticed, these tend to have a common theme of purification and protection. Both are really important to me and something that I like to keep in my home. Plus, these are all good winter herbs, and I tend to work with the seasons, and so that's a big part of why I chose them as well. And protection is a big theme of a lot of the plants that are still around during this time of year. And one last thing, while building these, I recommend picking a base herb. For me, this is cedar. It's one of my favorites and go-tos for workings like this. Also, it just makes a good base for binding. So adding cedar, which is the most leafy of each of my plants I've chosen, just helps keep it all nice and together. Alrighty, so that looks just about perfect to me for the base. You don't have to worry about exactly how much you'll put down, but just do what feels right to you. Typically I like a nice, good handful, kind of have the top, if it's a branch, able to be a little tighter, and then leaf out. Now on to the next plant, which is pine. Don't worry about it being too perfect, you really just need to place it on top. And last but not least, I'll be adding the cinnamon here, but I'm gonna add this one after I've started to join this all together with some twine. This twine, to be exact. Make sure you have a natural and safe to burn twine. That's super, super important here. So I figured while I work on binding this together, I would just chat a little bit about why I make these and the specific reasons behind this one in general, also just what got me started in them and what's special about them. So I first started making these winter herb bundles a couple of years ago, and it was something that I kind of wanted to become a tradition for myself. They are a loosely bound herb bundle that I have sit on my hearth through the entirety of December typically, or at least I start making them right when I start to feel that it is winter and that I'm getting in the winter spirit. When I first started practicing, I really fell in love with the solstices and the equinoxes, and so I wanted to build traditions for myself that I could follow through the season and just make it a little bit more of a special time of year for myself. And so this was one of those practices. And each year I select 3 herbs that are safe to burn, that carry properties that are important for me during this time, and something that I want to really focus on and build on. In particular, because of everything that's going on, I think I would really benefit from purification and protection, and this is kind of one of those just kind of symbolic workings. And it's really a very simple and beautiful one at that. And so once completed, it will live on my hearth until the winter solstice. On that day, I will throw it into the fire and allow it to kind of just release all of this energy that it's built up over the time. Typically each day when I am lighting the fire or just spending time by the hearth, I will place intention into this and just allow it to build. It's a good way for me to enter the new year, especially now with these guys. And really it's just a good way to evaluate your needs and work on them for some time. Plus, I think they're very pretty, and so it's a very loose bundle. It'll burn pretty quick. Definitely recommend putting this in a fire or burning it outside. If you don't have a fireplace, this is not a kind of bundle that you would just do a smoke cleanse with. It's kind of just supposed to be a bigger thing. But to me, it's just a nice little tradition, and it holds more symbolic meaning to me than anything else. And it's just really pretty. And I think it's also something that you can do if you have a fairly closed off family to witchcraft. It's something that's sort of quiet witchcraft in a way. And it just allows you to bring some more intention into your life, and it's also a really good shareable. Like I said before, it was something I used to sell at markets when I was running my herbal business before the pandemic, and people loved these because it's just something that is simple, easy to make, and easy to share. I think it's a really good gift to give to other people, and it's just a nice little thing to get you through this season. So anyways, now that I have this all bound up to here, I'm gonna add the cinnamon. Typically when I add something like cinnamon, it's a lot easier to add it after it's been a little bit bound together. But if you aren't adding something like cinnamon, you can bind it all at the same time. And typically while binding it together, this is when I weave intention into it initially. So just some tips there. But yeah, let's add the cinnamon to this and then finish it off. So there we have it, a simple winter herb bundle made of cedar, pine, and cinnamon. Cedar has long been one of my favorite burning herbs. I use it a lot before spells and kind of just to purify and protect the area. It's one of my favorites and will forever be. And pine has become one that I've worked with a lot more since moving out here to Washington. It's such a prominent herb here, and it speaks really strongly to me in this land. And so it's also become a very core piece of my practice, especially here. Besides, the needles are often burned during the winter months to help bring purification and protection to the home, so it's pretty perfect. Not to mention they're a great aid during this time to help cleanse negativity from a space or exorcise it fully. They're pretty powerful in the winter. Well, for those of you living with areas of great seasonal shift, they certainly are. And finally, the cinnamon, which I personally believe is always an important additive during this time of year. I tend to always add them to these bundles, and I would highly recommend cinnamon if you are to make one of these. Feel free to change out the other plants, but I just feel like it's a really key ingredient during this time. Cinnamon, when burned, helps to raise spiritual and protective vibrations. So it's great for magical workings. I found that it works kind of similar to ginger in this sense. It will kind of bring up more magic and make something a little bit more powerful. And I've also had it help ensure a spell's success. So kind of hopeful that this will ensure this bundled success, which is part of why I encourage adding it. But all in all, it's a very simple craft to make and one that I would really recommend. You can make it with what you have on hand and what grows in abundance around you. Make it with what feels right and add intentions to it of what you desire. Allow it to sit on your hearth or a mantle or even a bookshelf if that's the best you have. Put intention into it every day and then burn it on the solstice, allowing it then to release all that you've put into it. Often I'll make these for new beginnings or to create growth or abundance in my life, and this year, well, this is specific to protection and purification, which you are also free to feel free to make them for that. They just are something that is ever changing and ever evolving, and perhaps I will share them yearly with you depending on how this goes, how they kind of shift through what I need. And so I'd be really curious to see what you all do if you choose to make one of these, and yeah, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see it, or put them in stories. They're easy for me to see when they're in stories. Just tags are hard to find sometimes. Instagram does not have an easy search function for that. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you give this a try and enjoy. If you haven't seen already, I would recommend checking out my other channel. There I share vlogs of my everyday, all the magic and fun stuff, and it's really where I get to put more passion into my videos. And I know it's not for everyone, but if you can, I'd really appreciate it if you checked out my Patreon. There I share my art, herbalism, and some other fun things, and it's really what keeps things running over here. I couldn't be doing this without you all, and I just am eternally grateful to you. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you are having a lovely day. Give this a try, and I'll see you soon.